So, welcome to the day 3, right? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. This is day 3 of AWS Data Engineering and Data Analytics. Okay, so I just want to make a couple of initial comments before we get into the discussion. Okay, so I just need some inputs from you. I think from Saturday onwards, we are going to have this daylight savings that is going to change, right? Daylight savings, which is on 4th and 5th. So from 6th onwards, right now we are meeting from 9:30 to 10:30. Is it something that we can meet from 8:30 to 9:30 since we are going to move 1 hour ahead? Is that okay with everyone, or there is a problem? Just want to take the comments from you before we decide. Are there people from India here, or all the people are from US only here?
Yeah, Ravi, I'm from India.
Yeah. Okay.
For you, it's around 8:30 means in India it is around 6. It's okay for me, no problem.
In India, it will be 7, ma'am. Chetu, it will be 7.
Okay.
From next week onwards, it will be 7. There will be 1.5 hour difference, right? I'm in EST, so
even today we are joining at 7.
sorry.
Even now we are joining at 7, Ravi.
Yeah.
7 IST. So it's the same time that you're taking.
It should be 8.
మీరు 7కి జాయిన్ అవుతున్నారు కదా, మాకు ఇప్పుడు 9:30 అయింది కదా. ఓకే, మండే నుంచి మీకు 7 అయినప్పుడు మాకు ఇక్కడ 8:30 అవుతుంది.
ఓకే దిస్ టైమ్ ఇస్ ఫైన్. ఈ టైమింగ్
అదే మీ టైం కాన్స్టెంట్ కుదిస్తే కనుక మేము 1 గంట ముందు జరపాల్సి ఉంటుంది. దట్స్ రీజన్ ఐఎమ్ జస్ట్ చెకింగ్ విత్ ఎవ్రీబడి బేసికలీ. ఓకే, సో జస్ట్ కీప్ ఇన్ మైండ్, we can discuss tomorrow also as well, and then we can decide. So I'm not just jumping into the conclusion right now. This is a change that is expected to happen, so please keep in mind and then let me know by tomorrow. Okay, this should be fine. Now, another thing, for the people who have been joining from India, the classes will be from Indian timing. It is from Tuesday to Saturday. Okay, it won't be Monday to Friday. But from US side, it is going to be Monday evening to Friday evening. Okay, so Monday evening here happens to be the Tuesday morning only, right? So that's why for those people who are attending from India, on Sunday and Monday you don't have the classes, but your classes will be from Tuesday to Saturday. For all the US folks, it will be from Monday to Friday as usual. Okay, these are the two things that I just want to comment, and tomorrow as we end that session we will finalize and then we'll take it from there. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so yesterday we started with the IAM, right? So when we discussed with this IAM, what we discussed is initially with whatever account you are you are logging into the AWS management console, that account that user is basically treated as a root user, right? That is the first thing that we discussed. And the second thing is the root user is expected to have all the privileges within your AWS services. Okay, so that's why that root user privileges only should be used only within the extraordinary and emergency purposes. That's the reason it is always better to create a backup user and then give him the administrative privileges. Okay, so that backup user happens to be the IAM user. That backup user happens to be the IAM user. This is the thing what we discussed yesterday. Okay, so in your accounts also as well, just make sure you have the root user, which is kept separate, and you give the full administrative access to the IAM user, and then start logging into the management console as an IAM user only. Okay, so for now, what I'm doing is that I'm just logging into this account as an root user with snow.october@outlook.com, and click on this next. On this thing. Click on the send button. So the first thing that we need to do is that you go to the services, make sure that in this security, identity, and compliance, you have this IAM, that is Identity Access Management. Select this one. So what are the major components of your IAM? The major components of your IAM are users, then you have these user groups, then you have these roles, and then these policies. So yesterday we created some user groups. We created something like administrators, admin2, and then these developers. Okay, once we create these groups, then what we do is that we can have some users that can exist, right? AWS D and then AWS DA are nothing but the users that have been created, basically, that have been created. Okay, and the next thing is, once you create the user happens to be a dummy user. Okay, he doesn't have any authorization, he doesn't have any security, or else he doesn't have any powers to interact with any of these particular services. That's the reason what we need to do is that we need to grant permissions to the users in order to do something. So permissions can be granted in 3 ways. What are the 3 ways in which the permissions can be granted? The first thing is permissions can be granted through the groups. Suppose when you go to the user groups, then what you do is that you click on these administrators. Within these administrators, what you can do is that you can click on these permissions. Once you click on these permissions, you can have the option of adding these particular permissions also as well. So the permissions in the case of AWS are basically treated as policies. So there are 2 types of policies that you can do. Okay, one type of policies are nothing but the AWS managed policies. Okay, suppose when I want to attach a particular policy, you can click on these attach policies. Then you go here, these policies, what you are seeing here, these are all your AWS managed policies only. These are all your AWS managed policies only here. Okay, now not each and every policy can be attached to the group. Okay, whatever is really needed for the purpose of giving the access to that group, only those things has to be given. So this is what is your AWS managed policies. So once you give the policy or permission to a group, and once the user is the part of that particular group, okay, those permissions will be automatically be inherited. Those permissions automatically will be inherited. So how do you know this one? When you go to this IAM, okay, when you go to the users, suppose when you select this AWS DEDA, here what happens is these are the 2 things that you can see here. This administrator access, what you are having here, has been inherited from this group administrators, whereas this Alexa from full business also has been inherited from this particular group developers. So that means that you can have the option of attaching the policy to a group, and then when the user is the part of the group, those policies will be directly be inherited to that user. That is one thing that we need to understand. Is that clear to you all, or any questions you are having here? Managna, I hope you are following, right? Pravalika, Sumana.
Yeah, Ravi.
Yeah, Kavitkar, I hope you guys are following here. So this is what we do it as a part of the users, groups and policies. And another option what you're having is you can have the option of creating some inline policies also as well. Inline policies means suppose for this user, I want to add a permission. I want to add a permission. What is that permission? This permission is nothing but I want to create an inline policy here. Okay. Otherwise, you can go to these policies. You can go to these policies, and then when you try to create a policy, it is asking you to select a service for which the policy has to be used. Okay. What it is that I'll try to select this particular service as IAM service. IAM service, I'll select like this. Okay. Once I select this IAM service, what it is that I'll try to mention something like list user. So this is one thing that I'm selecting here. Once I select this one, I can also have the concept of mentioning something called as get user also as well. I'm also selecting this particular get user. So that means that I am allowing two actions. One is nothing but your get user, and the second one is list users I'm specifying here. Once I specify this one, then what I do is that what is that effect here? Effect is something like allow or deny. Whether I'm allowing these actions or whether I'm denying these particular actions, I need to mention. So, but basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to allow these particular actions, and then click on this next button here. Okay, so here what I do is that I'll try to mention this particular policy as example policy. I'll try to mention this one as example policy here, and then I click on this create policy here. Creating this policy as example policy. So is it an AWS managed policy or the policy that has been created by us? The policy that has been created by us are basically treated as custom policies. The policies that has been basically created by us are basically treated as custom policies. Okay. Now, if you want to see what are all the policies that you're having here, you can go to this all types. Which one we need to select here?
Customer managed.
Yeah, we need to select something called as customer managed policies, and then you can see that this is my example policy that has been created here. Okay. Now, once you go to the users, suppose when you select this AWS DEDA, then what I can do is that I can go to these permissions and then add the permissions here. I would like to add these permissions. When I add the permissions, I want to add the permissions directly. When I add the permissions directly, then I go here and then mention this one as customer managed policies. Okay, mention this particular policy as example policy. This is the one that I have created, right? Example policy. And then when you click on this next, when you click on this add permissions, one policy gets added. Okay. Now, when you go to the users once again, and when you select this AWS DEDA, you will be able to see these three policies that has been added. What is the three things that has been added? This policy is basically assigned as a direct policy here, and these are the two policies that have been inherited to those users basically. Okay, this is the way of attaching the policies to those particular users. Okay, just to summarize the things once again, we have a root user, you have a IAM user. IAM user is the one that we need to use, and then root user need to be kept confidently, and you should not use that one exceptionally in the extraordinary scenarios only. You need to use that one. Okay, so we need to give all the required permissions and privileges to the IAM user in order to work within AWS. That is one thing that we have discussed. Okay, and the second thing that we discussed here is policies. Policies are nothing but the permissions. Permissions can be given to the groups, and when we add the users to the groups, automatically what happens is they will inherit those particular permissions. So how many types of policies are there? There are AWS managed policies or custom policies, basically. Custom policies. Okay. So in the case of AWS managed policies, nothing you need to do. You need to directly add them. But custom managed policies, you need to manually create and then you need to add them. So such type of policies are treated as inline policies. So my question is, can the user can be left isolated, or else he always need to be a part of the group? Is it that every user should be the part of the group? True or false?
False.
Yeah, because every user need not be the part of the group. They can be isolated users also as well. And another thing is that a user can be the part of more than one group also as well. The user can be the part of more than one group also as well. That is also possible. Okay. And the third thing is policies. Policies are nothing but the permissions. What permissions we can mention? Those permissions, what we can mention are allow something or deny something. That is basically a simple policy in a nutshell. So how the policies are being denoted in AWS? What type of notation we are using? Can anybody tell me what type of notations we have been using? We have been using something like JSON notation. You remember yesterday?
JSON, yeah, JSON.
We've been using something called as JSON format. When you go to this customer manager thing, suppose when you select this particular example policy, okay, and double click this one. Okay, here you can see the summary here, limited read and list. But when you go to this JSON, you'll be able to see these things here. Basically, what I'm interested is EAR effect. What is that effect? That would be either allow the thing or deny the thing. And what are the actions that I'm doing here? Because I want to list the set of all the users, as well as I want to get the user also as well. This is the reason I want to use those two things. And this is the resource that has been mentioned. On any type of resource, this policy will try to find out the list of all the users and who is the current user. This is what is basically treated as a JSON format also as well. Okay, so going forward, while we enter into AWS data engineering and data analytics, these things will be the ingredients that we'll be using. Okay, today we are seeing them as concepts. Many people will be wondering why we are seeing these things. Okay, the thing is, if you go into AWS and then start working, I told there are set of 4 things that you need to be taking as the core. What are the 4 things? One thing is compute. The second one is storage. Okay, the third one is database, and the fourth one is IAM, identity and access management. If any of these particular things are not in your expert list, you will not be able to proceed further. That's why we are taking time. How much time we are taking, I don't know, but we'll be taking this much time to make sure that we understand these particular concepts before we jump onto AWS data engineering. I have a definite timeline, like most probably in the mid of next week, Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll be starting these data engineering concepts, because I will be completing this IAM, then we'll be going to the EC2 thing, then we'll be working on that S3, and then we'll be working on a sample database. Once those 4 things are done, we'll be doing a dive into this data engineering concepts. That's why these things are really, really important. Okay. So this time what is something that we have understood. So I hope everybody is clear with the permissions, policies, the users, and the groups. In case if you have any questions, please let me know before I move on to the next thing.
Hi Ravi, I have a question.
Sir.
Yeah, so most of the policies are present by default, right? Okay, so what kind of the policies we create customized policies?
Yeah. Suppose when you take this administrative IAM read access, when you take, suppose when you go to the policy, when you take this administrator access, okay, when you go to this administrator access and then when we see this one, it will contain the list of all these things here. It is allowing star and then it is also allowing this particular resource also, right? It means that every action is permitted and then every resource will be having, right? Okay, now I'm creating a user. For that user, I would like to exempt some of these actions and I would like to exempt some of those resources also as well. So if I try to give this one, don't you think that it will be giving a global policy or privilege to that particular person, Ravi?
Yeah, but we can, so this is the administrator policy, but there would be individual policies as well, right? We can choose whatever we need, whatever we want to grant the user, right?
Ipudu, see, I want to create a customized policy where I would like to take some privileges from IAM. Okay. Whereas I would like to take some privileges from S3 also as well, and then I would like to create my custom policy. Is it something, should I have that liberty to do that one or not?
Yeah, there is an option, but I'm just checking, okay, I mean, in which kind of the scenario we go for the customized policies.
Yeah, obviously customization is really required for any type of activity basically, because we can't take it as granted for all the AWS managed policies that has been given to us, right? Because there are certain scenarios where we would like to restrict, and then don't want to allot all those global privileges to a particular person. In such a case, we prefer to go with those custom policies basically.
Okay, yeah, got it. Thank you.
Okay, and another thing is I need to talk about the roles. I have not talked about the roles today. So when I go to those particular roles, those roles only will be doing a subset of the actions basically. Okay, in such a case, it is always better to keep the things under our control in order to assign those policies to the roles. In such a case, also we'll go with these customized policies. Okay.
Ravi, I'm here.
Yeah.
We have some like AWS managed policies, right? Already inbuilt policies. So can we modify those policies?
No, AWS policies cannot be modified, sir.
So in that case, we need to go for only the customized, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So how can we know that? So we have a huge number of policies as default. So how can we know that this particular policy has to be belongs to this role line? How can we identify that?
We have this AWS documentation. When you go to the AWS documentation, you will be able to understand. Okay. And one more thing is that when you start working on some use case scenarios, okay, we'll be able to introduce a certain set of policies that we need to use. So yesterday I was telling you, right? I have a user. So I have a user. Okay, IAM user is there. He can be given the privilege of trying to see only the users, but he cannot be having the permission of creating the users. Okay, that means that the functionality of that user can be determined by your organization. That is one thing. And another thing is that I'm trying to access that S3. When I'm trying to access that S3, suppose if you happens to be in your reporting team, okay, then what you are expected to do, you are expected to read only the data from the S3 bucket. Okay, but you can't write it over there. In such a case, I can give you only the read object or get object from the test3 bucket, right? So those particular things is determined based on the role that you are entitled in your team. That is one thing. And the second thing is, in order to get the what are all the associated policies that this thing is having, what you do is that, suppose when you go to these policies, okay, here you mention this one as S3. It gives you all the list of policies that you're having with respect to S3. Sham, does it answer your question?
Yeah, got it.
You type anything for that matter. You suppose if you try to something like glue,
Okay.
you see here, glue data brew, glue console, these are all the access that you get for this particular glue also as well. And you can take this one, suppose when you go to this glue console full access, you'll be able to see here, provide full access to the glue console via the AWS management console. It provides you the list of all the actions that are allowed in this one here. Okay. And the other option what you can have is, you can go into the AWS documentation, is the best documentation anybody can follow.
Okay.
Or else you can ask me also as well if you want.
Yeah, this is my first class actually.
No. If you don't want me, you can go to AWS documentation, but I'm always available 24/7 whenever you want. Just kidding. Okay, is that clear to you, Shyam?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. So that is about these users, roles, and policies here.
Ravi sir, one small question.
Okay.
All these policies and permissions we are setting up only when we have admin access, right? User can't set the permission of another user.
No. Only when you have the admin access, then only you'll be able to do this one. Otherwise, you cannot do. A normal user cannot do that one, madam, basically.
Okay. No. Admin giving the permission to some other user and that user giving permission to another user, it doesn't work that way, is it?
No, it doesn't work that way in the real time. Because there will be and one more thing, since you have brought this particular point, I would like to talk about one option. Please focus here. Thanks, Samana, for bringing this one. I'd like to provide something called as, here we have our friend by name Murli. He knows very well. I'd like to add one thing here. See here. There is something called as, you know this one? What is this least privilege option? Any idea?
No.
Least privilege option is, I really don't believe anybody. Okay. When I don't believe anybody, what does it mean is, whenever a user is being added as an IAM user, I'll try to give him the bare minimum set of privileges. That really happens in the industry also as well, right? I'll be giving him the bare minimum set of privileges initially. The moment once he is being assigned to a new task or a new role or a new function, then I'll start adding the functionality as per that requirement, basically. Understood? So as such, I may be a very good expert in AWS, cloud engineering, data analytics, and all the other things. Okay. When I join a particular company, that company will say, bro, I don't care. So what? What they do is that they'll give you the least privilege option, and then they'll give you only the read privileges to access some of the elements what is there in AWS. That's it. The moment once they understand that you are capable and do something based on that one only, based on your role only, they'll be able to give the access basically. That's why in always, not only in AWS, in any other cloud service providers also as well, the first thing they go with this one is the least privilege option. Kindly keep this one in mind, because this is something that will be frequently asked in the interviews along with the certifications also as well. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Now, so this is what is the thing that we need to do. So I just want to go and then discuss these things. We discuss, right? We have these groups, we have these teams, and then the users can belong to more than one team, and then there will be an isolated user also as well. This is one thing that we discussed. And the second thing that we discussed is this is what is your JSON document policies that we discussed. See here. What is her name? We just contacted Sumana. You see this one here, least privilege principle. In this least privilege principle, what it is that don't give more permissions than the user needs. Okay, this is what is the IAM permissions. And the third thing is that inheritance we have seen, right? When you're a group, group will be getting all these things. And similarly, I can have this inline policy that can be attached to a particular user also as well. This is one thing that we discussed. Then policy structure, I have told you three things are important. One is E, A, R, year, effect, action, and resource. Principle is something that we'll see later. Okay, and then password policies. Anyway, these things we know, but we'll see this one here. Is that clear to you, right?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Now, I'll start with a new, one more thing that we need to understand is budgeting. Budgeting is really important. The reason why budgeting is important is since we are working in a free tier, not everything will be free. Okay. For example, when you're trying to spin up a server, the minimum bare server is something that you will be able to access 720 hours per month. Okay, 720 hours per month means so you can spin that server round the clock for a month. Okay, now the second thing is if you need to have two servers that you want to operate round the clock in a month, for the second server you need to pay. You don't know that you need to pay, but you'll simply spin that server and then you go to bed or go to your business. That is okay. But at the end of the month, you'll be getting a bill saying like you will be deducted an amount of this much towards your monthly expenses towards your AWS resources. Okay, and that is only some $30 or $40. But we are going to work on very large data sets, streaming data, analytics, so much heavy operations that we are supposed to do. The moment once you forget to shut off these things, and once you forget to specify the alert, something of that sort, what happens is that you will be messed up, especially with respect to AWS. I've seen a lot of people, okay, who have been messed up without setting any alerts, and then they get the recurring billing, and then their life is idle, basically. That's the reason one of the first and foremost thing that you need to do after creating this particular IAM users is when you go to this account, here what you're having is that you have this particular account that exists like this. Select this account here. Once you select this account, here, when you come down, you have something like IAM user and role access to billing information. Can anybody see this one on your computer and then tell me what has been there in that one? IAM role and user and role access to billing information. There what happens is you need to click on this edit. Here initially it won't be there. The moment once you mention this one as activate IAM access, that means that apart from the root user, if anyone else is trying to access the billing, they will be provided the access to this particular billing. That's the reason you need to go to this particular option and then activate your IAM access also as well from here. And then when you don't do this one, click on this one and then update. That would be updating your IAM access here. Is that okay? No. So now, once this is done, that is the first thing that you need to do. Once that is done, then what you need to do is that you need to come to this particular budgets. You need to think of these particular budgets here. When you select this particular budgets, I want to create a budget. Okay, see here, when I try to create this particular budget, it will be something like zero spend budget is there. Even before this zero spend budget, there will be something called as free tier that exists here. Guys, you are seeing here, right? Murali, you are seeing this free tier. When you select this particular free tier, you'll be able to see the list of all the services that I have been using, and then how much is the current usage. They'll be telling you, so that you'll be able to know how much you have used basically out of your 100%. You'll be able to understand here. Since this is the account that I have created yesterday and day before yesterday, you will not be able to see much of the things that I have been using, but this is my free tier usage that I have been using so far. Okay, but now when you want to create a budget, you go to this particular budget. You go to this particular budget and then click on this create budget here. Once you click on this create budget, there is something called as zero spend budget or monthly spend budget. And as long as you're in the free tier account, you just want to make sure that you don't want to even spend a $1 more on this particular zero spend. So here, when you click on this zero spend budget, here I'll mention this one as my zero spend budget 2. I'll mention, and here I'll be mentioning the email recipients that I want to mention here. That is I'll mention here, and then you'll be notified when any spend above 0.01 is being incurred, and then you can click on this create budget here. So that means that what is being done here, my zero spend budget 2 is budget is this one, amount is used so far, and this will be notified here. When you are going to spend anything more than this one, you will be notified with respect to that email. And if you try to create a monthly spend, assuming that your free tier account is completed, and then you enter into your normal mode, okay, then I want to go with respect to this monthly cost budget. This is important. Create a monthly budget that notifies you if you exceeded or forecasted to exceed the budget amount. Okay, suppose if I mention this one as monthly cost budget, and then here the estimated monthly amount is, don't put this $100, at least only spend some $10 basically. Spend this $10, and then again mention this one here. You will be notified. See here, you will be notified when your actual spend reaches 85%. Your actual spend reaches that 100%. If your forecast spend is expected to reach that 100%, you will be notified in those 3 stages. This is one more certification question that comes. In what scenarios you will be notified when you create any monthly budget? Okay, so here also I'll try to mention this one as gmail.com, and then what you do is that you can click on this particular create budgets. Monthly budget cost to I'll specify. These are the 2 things that you need to mention here. Is that clear to you guys? Why are we creating these particular budgets here? So this is just to alert yourself. This is just to alert yourself to make sure that you don't exceed the cost, and then you don't get unnecessary billing, and then you'll be mindful to what you are doing here. So every time make sure that you come to this particular billing, and then make sure that what is my cost and these usage reports. Okay, and then with respect to the bills, you'll be able to see here. With respect to the bills, you'll be able to see here how much is your estimated bill that you're going to have here, and then highest estimated cost by the service provider, and then charges by the service. Like if we are using S3, if you are using EC2, if you are using any other service, how much is the categorization that you are going to have here? So with respect to data transfer, how much is being done? With respect to the simple storage, how much is being done? This much, these categorization you can see, so that in case if you find that if there is an excess billing that is happening, you can go and then terminate those resources, or else stop those services also as well. So that's why obviously what you need to do is that when you go to Google, here you mention this one as AWS free tier limits. When you try to mention this one, learn more about this AWS free tier, then you'll be able to understand here how much is being done here. See here, free tier categories. When you try to go to this compute, you'll be able to know. Free tier offering is something like AWS CC2, which is something like Amazon Elastic Compute, which is something like 750 hours per month if it is a T2 micro or 3 micro regions basically. Okay, when you go to this particular pricing, it will show you the list of the pricing that is going to give you on this one basically in this case. Per second billing, how much is the second billing that you are going to have, it will be mentioned here. So you can try to get the pricing assistance, or else you can use this AWS pricing calculator to understand your needs also as well. Okay, so this is just for your alerting purpose, in case if you really want to, but this is really important also as well. Billing, budgeting, and calculations, because you need to understand your free tier service limits, because tomorrow when you start setting up your services, make sure that you close them, you terminate them as soon as your activity is completed. Otherwise, you will get unnecessarily charged the moment once this gets done. Okay, this is one thing that you need to understand. So I have told you the place where you have to do this one. The first thing what you have to do here, you need to go to this place, select this particular account. Managna, I hope you are following, right? Select this account. Within this account, you come to this IAM user and role access to the billing information, make sure that it is activated, and do this budgeting and alert setup by logging into an IAM user. Okay, now my next question is that how do you know into which account you have logged in, whether you have logged in as a root user or whether you have logged in an IAM user? How do you identify? Can anybody answer? How do you identify in what way you have logged into this AWS Management Console?
With the URL ARM.
The user ID for IAM account is different.
See here, when I go here and then when I open this one, here it mentions something called as account ID. And this one, what you're seeing here, this is nothing but your account alias that you have mentioned here, November Bootcamp. Okay, that means that you have logged in as a root user. You're logged in as a root user. The moment once you log in into the IAM user, what happens is that you'll be able to know. Suppose, let me tell you one thing. Go to this IAM. When you go to this IAM, when you go to this, see here, there is a sign-in URL for IAM users in this particular account. Take this one, copy this one, and then what I told you here, you please try to open a window that is called as the new incognito window that will be there within this your private mode, and then mention this one. Okay, here I'll mention something called as AWS DEDA. And then when you try to mention this password, and when you click on this sign in, what happens is, Sumana, you're seeing the difference, right? Arun, Chetu, Deep, Harish, you're seeing the differences. This is what is your IAM user here. He is an IAM user here. IAM user is this one. And that means that you have logged into as an IAM user here. Now, when you try to open this one, that means that you'll be able to see only the account, but you don't see any other user information. That means that you are logged in as a root user in this particular account. This is one thing that you need to really understand. Okay. So I have another 5 minutes of time. So I just want to take the concept of CLI. What is that one? Command line interface. Okay. So what is this command line interface? I'll tell you. So when you want to work with this IAM console, this is what is your AWS management console, right? You have to log in and then you need to give the user ID and password, and then you need to do all the set of things basically. You can create the users, you can give the privileges, you can do everything for that particular matter. Okay. But at the same time, without logging into this AWS management console, if you want to do all these activities and operations from the command line. From this command line, what you need to do is that you need to make sure that you need to use this AWS CLI. That is one thing that we need to use. So we are going to use this AWS CLI a lot of times in our 60-day program. 60-day program means not 2 months. Within those 2 months, those 8 days are gone, and then you will be here only for those 40 days, something else. Not like 60 practical classes I'm talking about. Okay, so this is the command prompt you view, and then you want to do any type of operations from this particular console if this is Windows. But in case if you are working on Linux, then it will be something like Linux terminal. You need to do all these particular operations. So for this particular purpose, one thing that you are expected to do is for tomorrow's class, when you go to this Google, here what you can do is that you can mention something like AWS CLI for Windows version 2. Sumana, you're saying this one, right? AWS CLI install for this Windows 2. You need to go to this one, make sure that get started with AWS command line interface. Here, you'll be having here, install and update. So when you click on this AWS console 2, you'll be having the versions like in this Windows. This is the version that you need to install for your AWS CLI. Okay, so I want to make sure that I install that AWS CLI in your laptops to make sure that that should be ready for tomorrow to start working on that one. Is that clear to you? Can anybody tell me why are we planning to use this AWS CLI? What is the use of this AWS CLI?
To check the versions, or
Sorry, sir?
to check the versions?
No. The use of this AWS CLI is whatever the operations that you are doing in this AWS management console. Okay, if you want to do the same operations by using this command line interface, you need to use this AWS CLI. Sham, did you understand?
If you don't mind, can you repeat it again?
No, here in AWS management console, we are doing the operations, right? Creating the users, creating the EC2 machines, okay, adding the privileges and all the things what we are doing in this AWS, right? Here, okay, the same activities if we want to do not from the AWS management console, but from this
Command line prompt.
command line prompt, when you want to do the thing, what you have to install is you have to install this AWS CLI.
Okay, it's clear. Yeah.
This is what we are supposed to do. So tomorrow, the moment once you come into this class, kindly ensure that this AWS CLI is installed on your laptop. Okay, so tomorrow we'll be working on this AWS CLI to a certain extent to make sure that we get to this one, and then we'll be working on the EC2 also as well. EC2, which is going to be the very fundamental thing in AWS. Everybody should know, irrespective of whatever domains they are working on this AWS, that EC2, that is a Elastic Compute Cloud, is something that we are going to work on tomorrow and day after tomorrow, I don't know. Okay, tomorrow we'll start working on that EC2 basically. Okay, I have 2-3 minutes of time. In case if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll meet tomorrow. Okay.
Ravi garu, when we are trying to connect with IAM user account, so on the top right, it is showing with the role or what? It's a group name or role name? Hello.
Can you please repeat the question if you don't mind?
Yeah, when we are connecting with IAM user,
Okay.
the console side,
Okay.
on the top right side, it is showing the IAM user at the rate of some. It's a group name or otherwise.
This is my alias name.
Yeah, alias. Oh, okay, it is an alias.
Suppose when you go to this place and then when you open this one, where is this one here? When you go to this place, this one here, you see here account alias.
Oh, okay. Okay, okay.
That one we are using basically. That is AWS Ravi Data Engineering and Data Analytics. It's the name, not the brand.
Okay.
Is that clear to you?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah. Tomorrow we'll go into working on this AWS CLI, and then we'll be working on something called as this one. This is treated as Cloud Shell. We'll be working on that Cloud Shell, and then we'll be starting working on this EC2. EC2. Okay. So one thing what I'm saying is that in this 90 days of time, kindly make sure that you take the minimum number of holidays, minimum number of vacations. Okay. And try to focus. I have seen a lot of people who have been asking me, sir, can you please give me the video? Okay. So that I can start following and then start working on. Such type of people are the people who are highly passionate, and then they want to make a career out of AWS. See, AWS is something that is not going to end. It is going to stay long. Okay, that's the reason. Kindly have some passion and then make sure that you work out. I'll make sure that I'll do the very best that I can do in order to make you a perfect data engineer or a data analyst in this AWS space. Okay, so I'll see you tomorrow, and then have a great evening and good morning to the people who have joined from India.